so that you may give company to it. See, that's the simplicity I'm talking about. It's much harder in life to fight with what's happening inside you. It's much harder to try to transform yourself from one state to the next. And I'm not against hardship, believe me. You know, I can roll with the punches. But through the many years I've spent, this type of hardship is needless and will only add to your conflict. And it's an endless conflict that it fuels, because this desire to create a new ideal after the next is coming from some place, and it's coming from some deep wound. And I leave it to you to examine it. And how do you examine it? Again, not to get rid of it, but just to see it. That's what awareness is. It's the power of bearing witness, of being able to accompany what is actually happening in this moment without necessarily a need to label. If you're labeling, then give the labeling company. If you're defining, then give the defining company. If you find yourself caught up in these ideals of idealism and perpetually needing you to become this and become that, well, roll with it. Go with it. Watch it. Give it company so that you can finally see it for what it really is. That's the beauty of awareness. It's the simplest path. It's the path of least resistance. I had a friend of mine mentioned to me that he's taking up martial arts. I think he's learning Aikido. And he was telling me about how one of the basic principles is to use the opponent's momentum against him so that you use the least amount of energy. It takes a lot more energy to fight against someone else's momentum. But when you go with that momentum, you're leveraging that energy and flowing with it. Awareness is no different in that respect. You're taking the path of least resistance, which is actually leading you to the most effective route of self-transformation. Because by just allowing yourself to be who you are, not to define it per se, not to change it, not to get rid of it, but just to be. How could anything be more simpler than that? Just whatever comes, wherever you are, whatever thought, whatever emotion, if you're angry, let yourself be angry. Just be. Bear witness. Watch, observe. Practice that skill of watching without trying to push it away, without trying to get rid of it. And if you're getting rid of it, then watch yourself get rid of it. That's the technique. And just by watching, transformation occurs. People don't believe me because we're so trained in a conflicted approach to life that we can almost seem, it's inconceivable for us to imagine that the easiest path is the most effective path. And awareness, yes, sometimes it is hard to bear witness to the conflict that's going inside you. So often people tell me it's so hard to just sit in my discomfort. And yet I would, for sure, venture to say that it is much harder to fight against that discomfort. And guess what? You'll never win. No matter how much you fight it, no matter how much you try to override it, no matter how you try to think positively and try to use positive thoughts to blanket what's really going on inside you. It's a short-term fix. It's a Band-Aid solution, and the Band-Aid's bound to rip off. And it's going to hurt even more when it does. Because all the things that you pent up inside you, they don't go away. They live and lurk underground in the unconscious. And you can never hide from the unconscious. So, simplicity. That's the beauty. I find in my personal life, it's such a gift. I mean, I was having some tension in my body yesterday, and I was trying to override it with my mind. I caught myself in awareness to see what was going on, and I just allowed myself to go into that discomfort in my tissues. And the release happened on its own without me seeking it. And it was the easiest way. And it was right there, under my feet. See, it's much harder to keep seeking for someone to tell you how to be and to experience the tension of judging where you are against what you think you should be. And it's much easier to just allow that tension and to sit in it. Every moment, wherever you are, you are. How can anything be easier than that? Just to be where you are. Whatever emotion you have, experience it. Whatever thought you may have, experience it. The hardest part for a lot of people is to let go of the good and the bad, the right and the wrong, all these value judgments that have been conditioned into us. But when we're willing to let them go and to give company with who we are and recognize that we are who we are, as we are. We're not less, we're not more, if we have certain characteristics or if we lack certain characteristics. That in itself is a great healing. And it takes time. That healing is the deeper wound of feeling not good enough about who we are, of feeling less worthy as we are. And that's a very deep wound. But simplicity is the answer. Give company to the wound. I cannot think of anything simpler than that. It's given me so much joy in my life. I've seen the other side of the equation, and I know that no matter how many people tell me it's so hard, I know it's much harder to live this conditioned life.